Well, we are back this morning with part 2 of our exclusive interview with the wife of JD Vance, Usha, and we talked about their different backgrounds and how their shared values of family brought them together. Take a look. So we talk about the American dream a lot, and you and JD are definitely the American dream. You just achieved it differently. You were a child of immigrants, and I want to hear more about your parents and your family.
Well, I was lucky in that I grew up with incredibly loving parents who came from a different country. They came voluntarily, they came legally, and they made a life for themselves in a place where there were tons of other immigrants, all of whom had had different paths to getting there, but really shared a view that this was the country that they wanted to be in, and that this was a place that they really wanted their children to grow up in, to build a future in, and to really become a part of the fabric of American society. So I think that's great. That is a wonderful thing. I also understand that, you know, the experience that I had was because everyone came with this intention of kind of belonging, and worked really hard to do it. And I think that that's just a critical part of how our country was built and how how everyone just becomes an American at the end of the day.
I know you were raised with very intelligent parents. Clearly, you're obviously intelligent. Any advice for parents that are watching?
My parents are, and it might shock people, they are very relaxed in a lot of ways. They had this thought that they would just never say no if I wanted to get a book. So I think that was one of the main things that they showed me, that you could go out there and find all sorts of information in libraries and bookstores, that they would read to me, that they would talk to me about all of my interests. But they weren't very pushy. I think they just felt that as long as I was working really hard at things that I cared about, that's what mattered.
Your childhoods were completely different, and I imagine at first when you fell in love and you spent more and more time together, he told you stories about his childhood.
It honestly felt a little bit of an honor that he was doing this, because I don't think at that point JD had really talked very much about his childhood with anyone. And so there's kind of a through line from the conversations that we had when he first started talking about things and first started feeling like it was maybe okay to talk about things, to putting pen to paper and starting to write a book, which at the very outset was almost a form of self-reflection, trying to come to terms with all sorts of things that he hadn't wanted to share in the past, to everything that's followed since.
Were you shocked the book was so successful? Then there was a movie made, Hillbilly Elegy. Amy Adams played his mom. Glenn Close was his grandmother. And you were played by Frida Pinto. What was that like for you? Were you just like, how did this happen?
I mean, absolutely. I was definitely surprised. I liked the book, obviously. I'd read it, and I thought the stories were funny. I thought he had something really interesting to say. But I didn't know anything about the publishing industry, and I had no idea how it might do. And certainly, even when I thought, oh, maybe it'll sell pretty well, I never thought it would be quite as it was. So that was just a fascinating experience, but it was really fun. We got to meet all sorts of interesting people. I mean, I've never seen a movie be filmed before. That was an education in itself. And then, like I said, one of the nicer things about it is that we both get communications from people who really shared a lot in common with JD's upbringing. And so that, too, has been nice. I think it's special when you know that what he did, making himself vulnerable in that way, actually helped a lot of people.
How has he taken his childhood experiences and just made fatherhood a wonderful experience for his family?
There's nothing that he cares about more than being there for his kids. And he wakes up, you know, after a really late night of travel, he wakes up at 6 a.m. to make sure that they have some elaborate breakfast the next day. He's just determined to be there for them. And then there are also positive examples. I mean, he had all of these role models, not always, you know, immediate family. There was his grandmother, his aunt, his uncle, who is his uncle by marriage, is a just amazing father, actually lives here with us now. And so he just draws on all of that, too. You know, there are these people that he aspired to be like, and he tries to be like them every day.
What do they say about his life now?
Well, they're obviously really enthusiastic and great cheerleaders, and they do a wonderful job of just keeping our lives normal. Yeah, our family life is just normal. You know, right. They bring us all down to earth, and they keep us there.
Right. Okay, so politics aside, you have Kamala Harris, who's running for president. Her father was Jamaican. Her mother's family is all from India. And then we have you, who could be the second lady if the Republican ticket wins. Your family is originally from India. What does that say about America? What does that mean to you?
It definitely means a lot. I think this is a great country, and one of the reasons that it's so great is that I was able to grow up in San Diego among people from all sorts of backgrounds and just feel this core identity as an American. And, you know, I don't know, Vice President Harris, I imagine it was similar for her. I just think it is wonderful that we live in a place where you can be who you are, but be a part of a community that's so welcoming and supportive. It's a great place.
Why is a Trump-Vance ticket the best option for our country?
Well, that's a question that has a lot of possible answers, right? There are a lot of really good things that I think we can do right now. But I would point to, again, I love my husband very much, and I'd point to what he really, really cares about, which is the people that he grew up around. There are a lot of people who just haven't had the opportunity to wake up every day and know that their kids are going to have a better life than they had themselves. And I just think that JD is not afraid to push the boundaries and to shake things up in the way that will allow more people to wake up and say that, to know that they're giving their kids a better life and that is possible.
It's great. It's amazing from the Hillbilly Elegy point. Like, they were just a couple, and then he writes his book, and it ends up being this huge story. Ron Howard ends up doing the movie, and they become celebrities.
Well, I was telling Ainsley off air that, you know, so many politicians we meet, and you realize there's agreement. They really don't have love. The spouses between each other. It's just, they do what they need to for the TV. I get the impression that they actually do love each other.
Right. Their embrace on the stage at the convention said it all. And she said that they do. They complement each other and enjoy being a family.
Love talking about love. Back in a moment.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhardt. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.